the best way to talk about sort of your identity and branding and in relation to like a tribe and tribalism, which is a little unpopular with some people because of the term tribe, but basically talk about chimpanzees, right? Monkeys, right? They have a group of 50. So their brains are like set up for 50, living in groups of 50. And they'll do anything to make sure they stay in that group of 50 because it's survival. Us humans, we live in groups supposedly of about 120. But now we don't live in 120, right? And that's where music comes in and art and culture and cool stuff, because our brains are like set up to live in groups of 120. And we want to make sure that we stay in groups of 120. Otherwise it might mean death or something really dramatic like back in the day. But we haven't really moved on from that. So we need some kind of signature that connects us. And you know, the I Heart New York t-shirt, right? So the guy that designed that, a guy called Milton Glaser, he had this really nice expression. And he said, if I like Beethoven and you like Beethoven, we're less likely to kill each other, right? So the I Heart New York is just like, hey, I love New York. And then you're like, oh, I love New York too. So this is kind of like what tribalism is in a way. It's just that we're not in like one tribe, we're in thousands of tribes, right? We know how to relate to each other because of the football team that we support, because of the restaurant we eat at, the clothes that we wear, the music that we listen to. That's like really important. But it's just ways in which we identify each other, right? That's kind of what it is. Now that's where the danger comes in for an artist that's like really like, really got a tribe, you know, that are kind of passionate and fiercely protective of the identity, because you get boxed in, you know, and you want to kind of shape it up a little bit. Now, because of the world that we live in, it's so amazing with easy access to so much culture and content, and we can listen to any type of music that we want to instantly. Like, our references to each other are much wider and broader, and you know, this is really exciting. And the critical thing, I think, or like what's really cool as an artist to think about, is that what you are creating is the bond, not just between you and your audience, but between people, right? That's you're like the tribal glue between each other. That's kind of cool. I guess we're more eclectic. Like for me, my parents' generation would have had two choices. They were either mods or rockers, or hippies. So maybe they had three, you know, like that was it. And then, you know, when I was young, and it was like jungle, drum and bass, indie. Like there was a whole kind of like, you were blown open to so much more. So now I think that we're at a point where there's still some big brackets, right? There's some big areas that we need to make things easy for ourselves, because it's a bit complicated. You know, the world is a buffet of content, right? You start to like get really, it can become quite confusing, right? So one of the things that we look at now is like platform. What platform are you on? So that's like one way of like filtering and making choices. It's not just the content, it's where the content is that kind of defines you. And then you get your kind of genre, but then then you kind of got the sub genre. And at that level, that's where it's really interesting. That's where it's like uber creative, because then you can just rip all the rule books up. And that's where your collaborations and your sort of, you know, unique elements of who you really are comes out. So I think, you know, valuing the platform more as part of the identity, as opposed to just like subgroup, you know, that's That's a new thing. So I think that one of the dangerous things is being in a tribe, right? If you would say that. So like the one, and that's what's different maybe now than has been previously. It was all about you had to wear the right shirt, drive the right motorbike, listen to the right bands at the right time, smoke the right cigarettes. All of those things that defined, like, that was the tribe. We live in a world that's not defined by just one thing now, right? That's sort of one culture. So tribalism is kind of quite healthy if it means that you've got connections to so many other people. It's when you're getting boxed into, like, you have to be in this one this one tribe and do the right thing. That's when that's when copycat culture really comes in. And if you look at any artist of whom's successful and built huge audiences throughout time, it's those that have, when they started, they smashed through some form of, like, social restriction of, like, this is a tribe, this is the genre, this is the fashion, this is, they're the ones that kind of broke out of that. So it doesn't make sense anymore to define yourself just by one group. We are defined by so many different parts of our lives and references and stuff.